Good morning and welcome to the Burren Inverts Conference in the gorgeous Michael Cusack Centre in Carron, which is right in the heart of the Burren. And hopefully you can see, those of you online, it is a stunning day and the Burren is really doing its best. I particularly want to welcome those of you who are joining us online because I know there's possibly 3 times as many of you as there are here in the room today. And really want to allow you to participate in as much as possible in this conference over the next couple of days and hope that we really bring you a sense of the importance of the Burren landscape and its invertebrate fauna. So my name is Aine O'Connor. I'm one of the National Parks and Wildlife Service organisers of the event, and you'll meet most of us over the next couple of days, but I'm just going to take an opportunity to introduce us. So from the Burren National Park, we have Emma Glanville and Helen Carty and Enda Mooney, and from the scientific unit, we have Maria Long, Brian Nelson, and myself. But it's not just an NPWS event, and without the support of others, this wouldn't be happening, particularly the Michael Cusack Centre, where we've been getting incredible help from Tim and Agnes. Also from the Burren Farming for Conservation programme, and I want to thank Sharon and Brendan and Neil in particular on that. And then finally, our online producers, my webinar, to James and Fergal. So, as well as welcoming you here today and giving you a little bit of background and an introduction to the conference, my job is to give you some of the boring housekeeping details. So hope you bear with me now for a few minutes while I go through those and then get on to the introduction proper. First and foremost, it is a hybrid event, and we really want to ensure the online attendees get to participate in full. So with this in mind, we're going to be trying to stick as tightly as possible to the schedule. So another plea to all the speakers who have been warned. Each speaker has been allocated a time of either 30 or 25 minutes. The final 5 minutes of those will be for questions and discussion. There has been one small change to the timetable from the earlier advertised one. Hopefully most of you will know this already. But Adam Mantell and Maria Long will be swapping their slots. So we now have Adam's talk on Ballyogan and Slieve Carron nature reserves directly after coffee, while Maria will be closing out the conference tomorrow. There is one further small change, and unfortunately Sharon Parr of the Burren programme can't join us. But she's very lucky in having Brendan Dunford as her deputy, so he will be speaking to us tomorrow. Again, for the online audience, we're using Zoom as a platform. Most of you are hopefully familiar with using it at this stage. There are functions at the bottom of the screen. The Q&A one is actually disabled, and we're using the chat. So I'd really ask you to actively participate, to use that for entering your questions and key points in discussion. And we'll be actively monitoring it and doing our best to bring those questions to the speakers in the audience here today. But I do have one other favour as somebody who has been a really passionate user of online webinars since the pandemic started, and that is, if at all possible, can you hold out on posting your chat and questions until the speaker is finished? So just as a courtesy to the speaker and the rest of the audience, maybe just wait for that last 5 minutes. We'll also be leaving the chat function open over coffee, so we'd love you all to interact during that time and during the discussion phases. Right, to the happy task of introducing this event, finally. So each of the 6 NPWS organisers are lucky enough to spend a small bit to all of our working time in the Burren, almost all. And I've been coming here regularly for, well, in almost 30 years at this stage, mostly looking at water beetles and other aquatic inverts in Turlough and Mar Lakes. But last year I was lucky enough to be here with some colleagues moth trapping, and foolish enough at the end of one of those trips to say, isn't it time we all celebrated the invertebrates of the Burren? And not just action for me, lots of other people, here we are a year or so later. And the thing is, the Burren is well known and possibly even famous nationally and beyond. But it's most known for its geology, for this amazing karst barren landscape that we all know, for its flora, of course, and for its cultural history, both the older archaeology and the more recent and ongoing traditional farming practices. But its invertebrate fauna is seldom written or spoken about, and I hope we're going to change that over the next couple of days. To my mind, the invertebrate fauna is at least as worthy of treasuring as many of the other aspects. And like the flora, the invertebrate fauna has been shaped by the way the land has been managed. And the more traditional farming practices have supported and enhanced it through, those farming practices have been supported and enhanced through the Burren programme. So the first aim of the conference is to exchange knowledge on the Burren invertebrate fauna and to celebrate it. The second part is to examine how the land management practices have helped to shape and conserve that fauna. And maybe even to ask, are there things that we could do, little actions that we could take to further protect and enhance that fauna? So that'll be a bit more of what we discuss tomorrow. So I think that's, one last thing. In terms of looking at the management practices, we are lucky enough in having experts from outside of the Burren here. Many people here have sampled many times in the Burren, but some of our speakers are also coming from other landscapes that are somewhat analogous and where they have examined management practices and their influence on invertebrate communities in detail. So that's it. I think that's more than enough for me for now. I will be chairing the first of this morning's session, so you will, I'm afraid, continue to hear from me. But for now, I am going to hand over to my colleague and partner in crime, Brian Nelson, who's going to give you a proper, thorough introduction to the Burren invertebrate fauna.